All right, everyone. I would like to point something out to people, and I can't state this enough because a lot of times people watch my videos and they see like tacit support for something Trump did, or maybe praising like DeSantis in Florida, and they, because of their football team mentality view of politics, they assume that that makes me a Republican, and they infer from that, because they believe the parties have an ideological consistency of some sort, they by extension think that I'm a conservative. I've never been a conservative. I fit in more with a liberal individual than a conservative on a plurality of issues. If you leave out taxes, guns, and the necessity of actually having a U.S. border, on a lot of other issues, I kind of side with the far left, to tell the truth. I'm not a regulation lover. I think the government should be much smaller, but when the government is capable of helping, I think that's fine. I'm not an ANCAP. And my first vote was cast for Obama. That was in 2008. Then, of course, he sold everyone down the river and never closed Gitmo, didn't help the economy, gave money to big banks, Occupy and shit. I ended up voting for Ron Paul because I couldn't stand Romney. I wasn't going to vote for him. I couldn't vote for Obama again because he's still Obaming people. So I said, fuck it. I didn't care. And by the way, no, I do not regret the fact that Mitt Romney lost because of all your Ron Paul voters. Good. Fuck Mitt Romney. It's the greatest thing ever. Obama got 4 more years to trash things, leading directly to the Trump era, by the way. You should thank Mitt Romney for being a shitty candidate and Ron Paul for having ideological consistency for that, by the way. And then voted for Trump. But I didn't vote for Trump because he's a Republican. I voted for him in spite of him being a Republican. For the first time since I was born, because, of course, I'm born in the Herbert Walker era at the dawn of that. I think Reagan was still president for a year, and then the shitty era begins because you get a Bush in office. The Republicans have sort of been the stupid party. They don't do what's right. When they have a good idea, they don't back it up with any actual force. If all the Democrats ever had to do to the cowardly, spineless, neocon Republicans like Romney is threaten to call them bigoted. Oh my God, please don't use the B word. Don't call me that. Don't call me mean names. It's like they'd be in charge of the House and the Senate. They'd be able to strangulate all of government, and all Obama had to do was murmur about being part black, and they would immediately crumble. Crumble completely. In the off chance they had a good idea, therefore they wouldn't really do anything with it. They wouldn't take the ball and run with it. They'd be given a foot, they'd take an inch, or they wouldn't take anything. And in the off chance that they actually enforced their majority and actually got something done, it was always for shitty reasons. It was always to bomb somebody or give more money to Walmart or something like that. But now you've got a reckoning in the GOP. Trump is by far and away the leader of the Republican Party. And he's not even technically a Republican. He started showing up at CPAC in the 2000s because of the trajectory of the Democratic Party. I realize that. But if you look at what he actually believes in, pre-Reagan he would have been a Democrat. That's just the way that it is. He's sort of a Reaganite, but people casting Reagan off as far-right don't understand history either. They still think trickle-down was an actual proposal. Ronald Reagan never shrunk government. He just froze the new spending for a couple of years to allow private growth to catch up. For some reason, there are people who think he was an extreme right-winger for this. The shittiest stuff Reagan was doing was, largely in foreign policy. And domestic policy reasonably better. Last president prior to Trump that actually made a lick of sense. I'm glad, though, that the GOP has kind of cleaned up, but you've still got a problem in the GOP. This is the biggest problem. The reason why I couldn't be a Republican still is you still have too much neocon draws. People that are typically over 70, they still think it's Reagan era. So they're taking the same charisma minus any actual policy platforms and trying to put it forward as though it's going to work. The Democrats are doing, by the way, fundamentally the same thing. Look at what Biden does. Oh man, I'm going to stop that fracking. Oh, no, actually I'm kind of pro-fracking. Oh man, I think we need to promote women more. Oh yeah, I'm going to cancel the very existence of females on my first day in fucking office. Oh, I'm going to eliminate those scary AR-15s. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to, tax people so poor people aren't allowed to have assault rifle 15s, but rich people, it's okay. He's done a 180, or flip-flopped, or significantly changed his position on basically every fucking thing that he's done already. He's alienated his own voters faster than Obama ever could, to the point where the MSM is engaging in transparent push polling to convince people that he's still got a solid core base of support off of Twitter. That's basically the only place you're going to find a large number of Biden supporters. And they support him because of the D after his name. They don't support him because he's Biden. They're reluctant Biden supporters, but he's a Democrat, and Orange Man bad, and Orange Man still, does the speech thing, so there's something to contrast him with, and that's really what's happening. But the GOP, for decades, it was the party of the Iraq War. It was that was both parties, but they were the ones that got the ball rolling. They were the party of invading Afghanistan and then not following through at Tora Bora, if that was ever really a thing involving Osama in the first place. We'll never be sure. They were the party of kowtowing to the Democrats, not stopping them from doing grotesque, hideous things when they did have the ability to do anything at all. They were the party of mollycoddling censorious evangelicals. Now the GOP has done a 180, and parts of the party are now anti-censorship. In fact, Ron Paul sort of gets his wish. The reforms that he fomented within the GOP have at least partially taken hold under Trump. Now I know Ron Paul is not a fan of Trump, but is willing to give him tacit support on those several issues. Lowering taxes is better than raising them, even if it's only marginal. Well, Trump did that. Not going to war with other countries, even if you're not a peacenik. You're not withdrawing all the troops, you're not stopping all drone strikes, but you're not starting any new conflicts, you're not expanding any that are there, and you're withdrawing some of our forces from around the world. That's a good thing. It's a marginal improvement. This is, by the way, what I liked about Trump and from the get-go. Some people were saying, oh, he's the big nationalistic God emperor, we're going to be an empire soon. That was never what he was about. He's literally just trying to stop communism at the moment. Because that's where the far left is lurching off into, and they're still being mollycoddled by the Dems. I think he is genuinely worried that they will eventually take control of a mainline party. At least you'd have a contrast, I guess, at least insofar as you'd actually have two parties, functionally speaking. I guess it'd be better than neocon versus neolib. But the GOP is already reforming too. You've got populism there. Populism is better than neoconservatism. Again, it's not perfect. The platforms are imperfect. They'll never be perfect. And by the way, perfect is in the eye and ear of the beholder. Certainly, I'm never going to find a politician that I 100% agree with. Even like with someone like Ron Paul. I don't believe in reestablishing the gold standard because I understand fundamentally the way economics works, the way that modern trade works. Unfortunately, it wouldn't work. It'd be nice to have a currency backed by something more tangible, but that's not really the role of currency if you understand its use as a medium of exchange. I'm sure that a lot of you are red in the face at the moment. Oh my God, I wish someone would debate that sticks on the gold standard. Oh, okay, that's fine. Again, you're never going to agree fully with anyone. I don't know, I guess Ron Paul, Trump, and Razor Fist, throw them together and you'd amalgamate a character that I'd agree with 99% of the time. Even if you clone yourself, your clone would probably diverge from your opinions, because your clone would still be a selfish individual. The GOP is actually better than the Dems right now. That's the first time. This is the first time that the Republicans are more aware of the world, the way in which it works, and how to solve fundamental issues, and more willing to actually attempt that than the Democrats. The Democrats have always had screwy ideas, but at least they were trying. At least they were making an attempt. You'd have the grifters and opportunists making a lot of money off those attempts, but you had some, they kind of cared. Instead, now they're the party of Demented Joe and the Gang of Four Socialist Front, basically the young female versions of Bernie Sanders. There's clones. They're not doing too hot. Nancy Pelosi keeps shutting them up. And Pelosi. A $10,000 fridge, you got $2,000 worth of fucking ice cream bars in it. That's the Democrats right now. That's what they stand for. And Bloomberg, multi-billionaire class. They're the ones absorbing all the corporate money. The Republicans curb stomped them in the House of Representatives and in state legislatures and in gubernatorial races. You can't say that Trump is a weakling because he's basically the face of the Republican Party, when all of these echo chamber leftists, by the way, online are like, well, it's the party of Trump now. They mean it to be like it's the party of Nazis, the party of extremists. No, actually, I'm sure Trump and the Republicans are very happy about that. Because the alternative is they're the party of Mitt Romney. You'd be the party of a perpetual loser. Someone whose biggest claim to fame was being the proto-Obamacare architect. Need I remind the Republicans that when you applaud Mitt Romney because he's against Orange Man, you are literally looking at the face of the man who designed what ended up becoming the most hated proposal of the Obama era, according to Republicans, including the milquetoast neocons. Very, very funny indeed. It's nice that there's an awakening within the GOP, and then now you have a party that fundamentally, at least to some extent, is with it. Sort of understands things. And I would point out another thing. a disproportionate number of young people for the first time is swinging, if not to the right, at least towards that side of things, and it's largely due to two people, Ron Paul and Donald Trump. Those are the two big charismatic figureheads that really have sapped a lot of the youth energy out of the Dems. That and the fact that the Democrats are led by a dude pushing 80, who breaks his own protocols, and really he doesn't know how to communicate at this point because he's literally got Alzheimer's disease. That's about all. Peace out.